have all of their reports and everything, but since then, we're not really digging there. So that's why we're concentrating our efforts in the suburban area. Okay, so kind of spread out here. I'm going to speak from up here. We have been trying to figure out if this is a natural cave or a man-made cave. So who thinks they know? Who says that it's a natural cave? Anyone?
What was it like when it was found? Did it look like this, or have
It
you?
was dug.
We've been digging. It looked like this, but
Okay.
well, there was a lot more dirt in it. Okay, who thinks it's a man-made cave? Okay, now you have to prove it. Why do you think it's man-made?
Because like a lot of the shapes are almost shaped like perfectly.
Okay, so you see some maybe architectural features, like what? Like
Like that.
a staircase, okay? Like maybe this kind of
The lighting.
entrance or... Is something else?
Gives it away,
Say,
electrical
the
light.
fact that there's like entrances.
Mm-hmm. So you have distinct architectural features, entrances, exits, staircase, things like that that were purposely carved into the rock. Anything else?
Are we right?
We'll talk about what this is in a second. You are right. It is a man-made cave. Another detail I want to point out, all of the walls, you will see the original chisel marks from the people that quarried this cave out, that dug it out about 2,400 or so years ago. So, why do we have caves? I mentioned 5,000 caves. Let me ask you.
Cool.
To stay cool. Interesting. New Jersey people. You want to build a house in New Jersey about 250, 300 years ago. What are you going to build it out of?
Stone,
Stone?
Brick.
wood.
Oh, 200, I don't know.
Log cabin, right? Okay, that's probably the easiest way to build a house back then. Let's go up to the North Pole. What are people going to build their houses out of up to the
Ice.
North Pole? Ice. Okay, let's go over to Europe. I don't know. Let's pick Belgium. What do Belgians build their house out of?
Waffle beat.
So you build out of whatever's readily
Belgian
available.
blocks.
Exactly. The point is that throughout history, any time of history you're talking about, people will always, and throughout the world, people will always build out of whatever the most readily available, cheapest natural resources are. So, here we have, you with me? Okay. Here in Israel, you've been here at least a couple days, yes? Okay. What do we have a lot of here?
Sand.
A lot of sand and
Stone. Limestone.
Okay. So, you want to build a house here in Marasha, we're going to build it out of stone. But how do you do that? So I need another volunteer. Come on. What's your name? Rick. Rick. All right. Come stand over here. And I need to borrow your left arm. Okay. Let's imagine that Rick's arm here is the surface of the ground here in Marasha. You want to build a house, we've established we're going to build it out of stone. Where do you get that stone? In the ground. So we're going to dig into your arm. I promise it won't hurt too much. So we're going to dig in. When they first dug into the ground, they encountered a kind of rock that is very tough, very muscly.
Good, you picked
Okay.
his arm.
Okay, very tough stuff. This stuff is called nari. It is really difficult to dig through and makes for horrible building material. But they persevered. They realized that if they could dig a small little chimney through that nari layer, they get to a different kind of rock. That rock is called kirton in Hebrew, or in English we call it chalk. So chalk rock, much easier to dig out, to quarry out. And they, brick by brick, brought all these bricks up onto the surface of Rick's arm. Before you know it, you have a lot of bricks, and you have enough to build a house. And you build another house and another house, a whole suburban area all over Rick's arm. Now, once you've dug all of that out, you are left with these big holes under the ground where you've taken all that rock out. What do you call, your house is up here, what do you call a hole under your house? A basement. And that's where we are right now. We are in the basement of the homes. But we walked quite a little distance from the parking lot over to here until we got into the cave. Did any of you notice this big city of Marasha? I'm going to give your arm a rest, but don't go anywhere, okay? Did you see much? You saw a little bit. What did you see?
Look like old walls and stuff.
Okay, like foundation
Yeah,
stones
yeah.
of a house. Okay, Manny, I'm going to ask you to leave it alone, please, okay?
Come here.
Okay, come sit down and join us. There's not much to see on the surface, but you come down here and you have a labyrinth, really, of 5,000 caves like the one that we're standing in. So what happened to the city above? In order to understand it, we need to look to the history books. There is a historian named Josephus Flavius, and he is our main source for this time period. And he tells us the story, it's all tied up and connected to the story of Hanukkah. I promise we get back to Hanukkah, right? Hanukkah, So, the story of Hanukkah, who are the heroes? The Maccabees. And they are revolting against,
Philistines.
not the Philistines,
Greeks.
the Greeks. The Greeks. They are revolting against the Greeks. Now remember, I'm putting it in the context of this site here. This site, remember that third layer on our tell? Okay, is the Greek Hellenistic time period. So people here have become very Greek. So the Jews had enough of this Hellenization, okay, this forcible, forced Greek culture on them, and Greek religion also, and they eventually decide to rebel. They rebel against the Greeks. Who won? The Greeks or the Maccabees? The Maccabees win. They go back to Jerusalem. They find that the Greeks have totally desecrated the temple. They clean out the temple. They find a little bit of oil that lasted for 8 days. Because of the military victory, because of the oil, we celebrate Hanukkah.
And you get presents.
And we get presents. Amazing, right?